And so once I started like overcoming through discipline, even though I didn't feel like showing up and forcing myself to do it, it makes you feel more empowered to do that and make that decision every single time that kind of pops up for you.
Hi there, this is Sarah Kuhn. If you are an INFJ or in a relationship with an INFJ or related to an INFJ in any way, and you want to figure out how they operate, what makes them tick, and how to communicate with them better, this is the show for you. It's called The Quiet Ones. This is a show that deconstructs INFJs, what they are, how they think, how they feel, how they operate, and how they relate to people with other personality types. Whether you have just found out that you're an INFJ or have known for a number of years, there is something for everyone. You will learn more about your personality type so that you understand who you are and understand how you operate in the workplace, in relationships, in your family, and with friends. I want you to walk away from every episode feeling like you have a place of belonging, feeling like you are no longer alone, feeling like you have a place to be heard and seen and understood as you really are. This is a place to connect with other INFJs, to learn and grow and really thrive. I want to give you inspiration and real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to live your best life every single day. Though INFJs are very rare, you are not alone in this world. You are not the only one who thinks the way that you do and feels the way that you do. Hear from real INFJs just like you. Hi there, I'm Sarah Kuhn. Welcome to another episode of The Quiet Ones. Today we're talking to Joslin Lindsay, who is a health and fitness coach and an INFJ. We spoke about being healthy as an INFJ on the inside and on the outside. So let's get right to it.
Well, hi. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you too. I'm glad that we get to do this.
Me too. I'm so excited.
So I always start by asking my guests about their personality type. So tell me what your personality type is and how did you find out about it?
So I am an INFJT. I kind of, I'll try to make like short and sweet, but going back on like elementary school, I've always kind of struggled with knowing like who I am. And especially like when I hit middle school, I was like bullied a lot, had like a lot of rejection go on in that stage leading into high school. And for that whole decade leading, honestly, decade to like 15 years or so, I always just kind of tried to be someone else, like an actress that I liked, or, a friend that I really looked up to. And I always just try to project that out instead of who I was, because I didn't like who I was. so, so I went right into that, went into being pregnant and married very young. And my pregnancy was a very emotional pregnancy for me. It was a kind of a shock that I was going to be a mom. And I just remember during my whole pregnancy and even postpartum, just feeling very lost and very confused about who I was, but especially who I was in this whole new chapter of my life starting. And so my cousin actually, she posted about the Myers-Briggs personality test on her Facebook, like a little link to do it. And I had heard of it before. I heard that it was like the most in-depth and like accurate of the personality tests that they have out there. And I love personality tests. And so I was like, okay, I really want to check this out, because I was finally at a stage where I wanted to know who I was as a person, and stop hiding from it and just kind of like embrace it. And so I remember before like clicking on the link to do it, I was like, I want to do this, but I want to take this 100% honestly. Like every single question that came up in the test, I think it was like 100 questions. I took it upon myself to answer it brutally honest, even if I didn't like the answer that I was giving. Even if I wish it was a different answer there, I wanted to answer it true to who I was. So I did the whole test, and it came out that I was an INFJT, and I was like, cool, what does that mean? And it gave this huge, like really in-depth descriptions as to who you are and like a general thing, but also like what careers are good for you, how you are in romantic relationships, friendships, your strengths or weaknesses. It like broke it all down. And I remember like staring at reading after it and staring at it, and like my mouth was open. I had never in my life read, like, it felt like someone went into my brain and took all the thoughts, even the subconscious ones that I like hadn't surfaced yet, and put that down on paper and like wrote it out. Like, it was mind blowing to me. And that was the first moment I felt not only understood, but also didn't feel so alone in how I felt, because obviously other people are this personality type too. And I think it said in there like only 1% of the population, I think I've heard you say 2%, are INFJs. And I was like, well, that makes sense, because like I feel very alone in who I am as a person. And so yeah, that's kind of how I found out, who I was. And then from there, a friend of mine who was also an INFJ, I only know like two others, she was like posting a whole bunch of stuff about being an INFJ from your page. And so from there, I just kind of connected to your posts and the community, and it's been life changing.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love what you said about answering all of the questions honestly. I made that mistake the first 6 or 8 times I took the test. I had this idea in my head of how I wanted to be. And so I answered the questions based on what I wanted to be or what I thought I could be rather than how I actually was. And it took me years, probably 6 or 8 years to actually answer all of the questions honestly. And I took my niece calling me out saying, "You're lying to yourself."
Oh, wow.
She's an INTP, so she can be brutal sometimes, but it was actually really good because it was like, wait a minute, maybe I am lying to myself. Ooh, I
Yeah.
don't like that. I really feel called out here and I don't have any argument for her, so she must be right.
If you're honest with yourself in that moment.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So then when I went back and took the test again and was very careful to be honest, that was when I had the realization that I actually am an INFJ, because I thought that I was an INTJ.
Right.
Because we use both the thinking and the feeling sides of our brain, so it's easy for us to be mistyped as INTJs,
Yes, absolutely.
especially if we're lying about all of the feelings that we have and we're like, no, I don't have, like, it's not outwardly emotional, which was my argument for it, right? Like, I'm not outwardly emotional. And my niece, who has a thinking personality type, she's like, no, but I'm not emotional, like there's no inward or outward. And I'm like,
It's
oh.
just stoic all around.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I wish I could be that way. It'd be a little easier in some scenarios, but
Yes, it would be a lot easier to just set aside like how you feel. I've been talking to one of my other INFJ friends about something, and I'm like, I don't know what I should do. Like, I have this feeling that I should do this thing, like a gut instinct, maybe it's intuition. And I'm trying to rationalize it. I'm trying to make it make sense and, come up with all of these reasons why it's the right thing to do. And she's like, stop that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she goes, if your intuition is telling you to do that, if you have a feeling, then you shouldn't be trying to rationalize it. Just do it. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Even though the thing that I want to do doesn't necessarily make sense.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just have to go with it, right? When your intuition is telling you something, you just have to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your business. How did you get started with your business, with what you do?
So kind of funny. I grew up never exercising ever, never really being healthy, eating vegetables, none of that. And after I actually took extra music classes in high school to like get out of PE. That's like a thing here in Florida. So it's kind of funny that I'm interested in fitness so much. But like I said, I had a very emotional pregnancy. I got pregnant and married very young, and was kind of like, shocked and thrown into it all. And during that pregnancy, I did not feel like myself in any sense of the form, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And most definitely physically. Your body goes through so many changes when you're pregnant. And after I had my daughter, when all is said and done, I had gained like, I want to say 60 to 65 pounds during my pregnancy with her. And at the end of it, I just didn't look like myself like I was used to. Less than a year prior, and I didn't feel like myself. Like I couldn't fit in any of my old clothes, which I just longed for some sense of like normalcy, I think, through it all. um, and so I knew that I wanted to do something about that and at least get some piece of myself back. I knew it would be a journey to grow, and fix myself in every other way, like emotionally and everything. But physically was like, okay, that's doable. That's a good first step, right? So after the 6-week appointment, and I was like given the okay to exercise, I literally came home and started on that journey. And it's been about 3.5 years. My daughter's 3.5 years old, and it's been incredible. It's been life changing for me in every aspect, because it's not just the physical changes. You go through so many. It makes you mentally stronger, and it's just all encompassing. But that definitely was something that gave me a sense of purpose. I've heard you say before that a lot of times your purpose is from your pain. And I was going through a lot of pain postpartum, just not knowing who I was, and definitely not feeling very foreign in my own body. Like, who is this? And not feeling any sense of normalcy. So that kind of catapulted me into just working out, and finding my way back to who I am through that. And so I'm a coach with Beachbody. So it took me, oh man, I came across my coach's profile like a year and a half ago. Actually, no, not a year and a half ago, 4 years ago. And it took me almost 2 years to actually like sign as a coach and do the thing, because I was very skeptical and very like, is this the right avenue? Like, what's this whole thing about? And so, yeah, I joined with her as a coach, and I never looked back. I love it so much. And I love that it's given me a sense of purpose to help other women find empowerment and find their confidence, no matter what that means or looks like for them.
I love what you said about growing up not eating vegetables. So I'm a vegetarian and I don't like vegetables. People are, every time I tell people, they're like, oh, so like you eat lots of salads and fruit. And I'm like,
Like,
no,
no.
why would I eat that? Nobody in my family was vegetarian when I was growing up. So I ate macaroni and cheese and grilled cheese and lots of sugar and chocolate, and that was just what we ate. And so now that I've gotten older, I have all these health problems, and I'm like, what do I do now? And I actually hired a health coach to help me. She does something that's called cycle syncing, and she's like, so we're going to start with your diet. And I'm like, ooh,
You're like,
really?
oh, no.
She's making a list of all of these vegetables, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know what to do with that. Like, really? You're gonna make me eat all of that stuff? And then on top of that, she added all these like protein powders and supplements and things, and it was really, really scary at first. But
Yeah,
what happens is, the transition is pretty rough, but then
right.
you start feeling better, and you start seeing some improvement in
Exactly. Yeah.
in your weight and your appearance, and then you start craving that kind of food. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so crazy, but it helps so much. I'm excited too to get back into exercising, which is kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you, because I did Beachbody a while ago, and I
Yeah.
really liked the workouts because they're kind of short and sweet.
Yes.
but
And
but
that's
they're
so
really
great.
effective too.
Yes, absolutely. I love that they're so like, especially as a mom where I'm like, okay, I have like a very short window to get this done. It's short and sweet, but you see results from it and you feel good from it. And
Yeah.
every trainer, like every program I've ever done, they've always been just like super motivational, encouraging, and that makes it all the
Yeah.
difference.
It's nice that they're short too, because a lot of people, we use that excuse. We've all done it. I don't have time to work out. you know but I feel like they're like, what, 20 or 30 minutes long? They're not very long, right?
I mean, it depends on the program. They can go upwards to like even an hour. And I've done those, they're great. But yeah, you can absolutely do 20 to 30 minutes a day and you're really good on that. They even have like, if you're super, super low on time, they have like 10-minute ones, like 10-minute abs and, little ones. So even if you hardly have any time, you can do something to kind of move your body, which I love, especially
Yeah.
as a mom. So
Yes.
it's sometimes really hard.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I love that they're videos too, because one of the biggest obstacles for me for working out is going to the gym, because I
Yes.
just don't like the feeling of judgment. And
Mhm.
not that people are actually judging you, because I at one point had 2 gym memberships. um
Oh, love that. That is so great.
I was cycling and swimming and running for a while. So one of them was like a regular gym, and the other one was like an aquatic center that also had a gym.
Oh, okay.
Um, but I always had this idea in my head that people were going to judge me. And I even joined this running group because, I'm an all or nothing type of person, right? Like, I don't do things halfway. So I'm
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to hire this top of the line personal trainer who
Oh.
was super expensive, especially for how much money I made back then. But I'm like, I'm committed. I'm gonna do this. And he's training people who are running like Ironman triathlons, and then there's me. And I used to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and go, like, it was a 45-minute drive to where they were in downtown. And we would run around this little lake in this park downtown, and they would literally be lapping me just like over and over and over again.
Oh my gosh.
And I had this feeling like I was super scared when I started, because I thought they're going to judge me, because I'm not. I mean, I weighed a lot less then than I do now, but I was still like terrified of judgment. But what happened was people were so friendly, and they were like, every time they would run around me, they would be like, keep going, you're doing such a great job. And I'm like looking at them like, I am not. Like, seriously, if I could talk, I would be arguing with you.
Yes, yes. You're like, you're lying to me, but thank you. Like it's a nice lie, so I'll accept it. But
Right. Yeah, it's helpful.
Mhm. I love that. Yeah, the gym never worked for me either. I would try really hard, but I think it's probably that introverted part of me where it would take more motivation for me to be like, okay, I'm going to drive to the gym. There's going to be other people there. They might try to talk to me. But home workouts work so well for me and my personality because I don't miss them. I get them done because I don't have that like fear lurking in the back of my mind, like, oh, I have to go somewhere to do this.
Yes.
I can just do it in my living room or the nursery and get it done. And it doesn't create like another obstacle in my way to like get the thing done and over with.
Right, right. It's perfect for us as INFJs.
It really is. Yeah.
So how do you keep going when you feel like you don't want to keep going? Because I'm really good at starting something and sticking to it for like 2 weeks, maybe a
Mhm.
month. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just done. I don't want to do this anymore.
I totally get that. I've been there. Before ever being pregnant, I was the same way. Like I would try to go to the gym and end up at like ale house instead of the gym. It was really bad. And it cost me so much more money because I was paying for both. But
Right.
but it's really a mindset shift. And I kind of look at it this way: when you're working out, um, you are building like physical muscles, right? And there's this other side a lot of people don't realize that you also kind of have to break through and build some mental muscles. And that means like willpower and discipline. And those are built simultaneously at the same time. And so you kind of have to like dig down deep and be like, I kind of think of it as being like a mom to myself. I'm like, no, you're not hurt today. There's nothing going on today. Even though you don't feel like doing it, you're going to do it. And I forget what book it's in. I want to say like a Rachel Hollis book, but she says something along the lines of, you wouldn't break those promises that you make with other people. You wouldn't make a promise to someone and then like kind of like dip out on them, you shouldn't be doing it to yourself. And that, like, when I read that, I was like, yes, it's so true. Like, that's kind of how I view working out. Like, I've made this commitment. This is the program I'm doing. This is the nutrition plan I'm doing. And I'm choosing to stick with that even when it gets hard and I don't want to stick with it anymore. And it's really hard, especially those first 2 weeks to a month of building that, but it does get easier. I hope that gives someone some sort of hope. Um, as you go along, you tend to start to see those patterns like we do as INFJs, right? And you already have like a plan in mind of how to like overcome it. Like, I don't feel like working out, but I'm going to drink my pre-workout and get my clothes on because I'm going to do it anyways.
Right. It's
But
so
yeah,
typical for us as INFJs, though, to put everybody else first and then to just forget about ourselves or to not follow through for us. Right? That's always what we do. We'll show up like when we are half dead for somebody else. They need us, we'll be there. But
yes,
when it's ourselves, we're like, no, I don't have time for that.
I'm good. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's there. But that was a big thing for me too, is as a new mom, I was like, this is the maybe one or two things I will do for myself today, and working out is priority because it bleeds into everything. It bleeds into the energy that I then can have and give back to my daughter. And it helps me sleep better so that I'm better rested for her. It's a whole big picture thing. And you do, like you said earlier about once you start to see like the positive effects of it, it drives you to do it more. And so once I started like overcoming through discipline, even though I didn't feel like showing up and forcing myself to do it, it makes you feel more empowered to do that and make that decision every single time that kind of pops up for you. And by the end of it, when you finish the program, you feel so good, or whatever it is you're doing. You just feel so good that you stuck to your guns and did it. And then it drives you to the next, it's just kind of like domino effect for it.
So how big of a deal is it, or how important is it what you eat? Because a lot of people say it's not that important. Like if you just start exercising, you're going to lose weight.
No, it is the biggest deal what you eat. It's more important than exercise, truly. They work hand in hand like anything, but what I guess someone put it to me this way once and it always stuck with me. You cannot out exercise a bad diet. And it's really true. Um, if you were choosing one or the other, I would say choose diet. And I love exercise, but it's like 80% of the importance there because the food that you're putting into your body, it affects you on such a grand scale. Like, especially when you get digging into like gut health and the importance of that and the effects of that on the body, you really want to be feeding your body whole foods, good ingredients in the foods. I've kind of gotten to the point of life personally where I don't care about calories. I care about what's in the food because that's what's really truly important for your gut. And that in turn affects your mental health, and it affects your whole feeling, like how well you sleep at night and the energy that you have. It's mainly sourced from your nutrition. That isn't to say that exercise isn't important. It totally is, and it's really important to move your body. But the biggest aspect absolutely is nutrition. And I hated that answer, especially when I first started. I was like, dang it, like I'm okay with the exercise part, but being disciplined in my like nutrition part, I struggled with that a lot because
Yeah.
I love dessert and
Right.
everything that comes with it. But yeah.
Yeah. I was shocked and surprised that so much has to do with what you eat. I have anxiety and depression, and I notice a huge difference when I eat certain foods. And even something as simple as taking the right vitamins helps so much. It's crazy when you start digging into it, like you said about gut health. It's so much of it starts there. And
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to tell somebody the other day, they were asking me how to get over anxiety, and I'm like, what are you eating? And they're like, what?
Yes.
no, this is a mental health problem. And I'm like, no, trust me, it's a problem with your diet. Like, that's where you need to start.
They're absolutely interconnected. And I'm the same way. I struggle with anxiety and depression. And I've been working really hard on just becoming more in tune with my body. And I will absolutely notice the change immediately. So if I eat super unhealthy foods one day, the very next day, I will absolutely notice a dip in my mental health, and I'll start to struggle again. And it isn't to say that if you have a perfect diet, you're like going to be exempt from mental health. That's not the case. But it absolutely 100% helps you in the sense that you get a better grip on it. You're able
Yeah.
to combat it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that's, the gut kind of acts as like a second brain for us. Um, and so it absolutely, what you're putting into your body goes into your gut and then, connects with the brain. So it makes sense that they would be, interconnected in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not 100% better, but I would say for me, it's probably 80% better. And that's the difference between being able to handle it and to think my way out of some issues and just want to stay in bed all the time.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference for sure. All right, good deal. Well, tell us where we can find you, your website and your social media.
So I don't have a website, and you have inspired me to make one and get my blog started. So thanks to you for that. But if you do want to find me on Instagram, it is Joslin Lindsay Fitness. And my name is spelled a little different. It's Joslin and then Lindsay Fitness. So that is where you can find me on Instagram. And that is about all that I have so far, just Insta.
All right, good deal. We'll put a link for it in the show notes too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. As a reminder, you can watch all of the video interviews at youtube.com/The Quiet Ones Podcast. Please go check it out and hit the subscribe button while you're there. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next week.